Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going back to the DC Comics Enter Our World universe to give you guys another story on some of the newer members. Now, for this one in particular, it's going to be about a group that I like to refer to as the Young Titans. And with the Young Titans, they're basically going to be younger versions of the Teen Titans. They're still learning their powers, and they're just acting more as a team that helps each other in learning more about themselves rather than a team that is focused exclusively on just protecting the whole world altogether. If you need any more context, I do have all of my DC Comics Enter Our World stories in a playlist already, so go check that out if you need a refresher for this. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the Young Titans. After the new Justice League had a multiversal mishap, which we'll get into at another time, the founders decided that they needed an extra set of hands, like subgroups, to take care of specific tasks on Earth. The team that would eventually be known as the Young Titans first consisted of the Warrior, Nova Girl, Stormbird, Animal Girl, and Power Cannon. The latter two being there as supervisors, there to assist the missions, and especially if they came across powerful supervillains. On their first big mission, the original team responded to an SOS in the middle of the Niger country of Africa. This was something new to them, as they focused more on smaller areas to keep crime down whenever they could. When they arrive, they meet with Jabari Mosa, who is a town leader in Keita, a small city in the country. The team is informed that there is something strange going on a few miles outside of the town, told to them by Jabari, who leads the team to the area. Apparently, what's been happening is that there have been crime lords who use the desert area outside of the cities to meet with their associates. While these crime lords are dangerous and definitely deserve getting the death penalty, they hold connections to high-ranking officials in the country, and most of them have families that live peacefully in the community. However, very recently, these crime lords have gone out into the desert area to meet with their associates, but they never return. Jabari stops the car right outside the desert area and warns them to be on guard for the wildlife out there more than anything else. After the team starts to walk off into the desert, Jabari wishes them luck and drives back to his town. The team goes deeper into the desert, with Power Cannon using his scanners to identify any other life signs in the area. However, the heat seems to be interfering with his systems a bit. So, they have to focus more on their natural skills, mostly by Animal Girl using her eagle eyes and snake tongue to see if there's anything or anyone coming. However, for the moment, she does not detect anyone, but the team stays on alert. At one point, they come across a group of lions, with the animals looking at them strangely. Luckily, Animal Girl transforms into a lion herself and does what she can to communicate with them. With what she finds out, she informs the team that the lions have seen the crime lords when they arrived, and someone else always arriving to meet them. However, they're not as good as seeing things during the day. The lions recognize the smell of the crime lords, as they come here very often. But the other person is a scent they do not know, nor do they wish to know. As the team continues with caution, Animal Girl continues to change into different animals, like elephants, leopards, and gazelles. But none of them can identify who this strange figure is. The Titans keep going, with Power Cannon still struggling to get his scanners to pick up anything. Nova Girl then begins to see a strange series of symbols on the ground, and the team continues to follow them. They soon come across a strange altar, with a person standing at the front of it, chanting something strange. Power Cannon notes that the altar has an appearance of ancient demonic temples, and that they should stop the chanting. Warrior then notes that they should contact Sorcerer K to help with this, since he is more experienced with this situation. However, Animal Girl notes that he's off-world, and so he wouldn't get here in time. It has to be them, now, and especially to gain this experience. However, right as they ready themselves, they hear the man's chanting change, and his voice becomes deeper, raspy, and near demonic, as he says,
"I smell something. A scent I haven't smelled since I smell you. I can smell your fear, heroes."
the team readies themselves as the person attacks, practically contorting his body to move. While the team moves and works to try to land strikes, nothing seems to work. They are then struck down by a wave of dark power. Nova Girl then calls in a favor to an unknown person, and within 5 minutes of them fighting some more, and failing to do so, a blast of nega magic hits the man, knocking him down. The team turns around to see Darkwing float down to the ground, landing comfortably, and walk to the rest of the team. She explains that this man is being possessed by one of the 7 demon lords of hell, known as Ordithkar, and acting as his vassal. The demon lord is using this vassal to spread his will to the whole world, and gather as many broken souls to the realm of hell as possible, to satisfy his own hunger. She's been tracking him for 5 months now, but she could never figure out where his altar was located. Though this turns to be a hard fight, with Darkwing's help, the team is able to take down the vassal and free him from Ordithkar's bidding. The young man thanks them and introduces himself as Alex Shipley, a young man from America who was influenced by the Demon Lord to do his bidding and find his altar, tricking him into becoming his vassal. As the team returns home, Warrior offers Darkwing a place on the Young Titans, as she was both a huge help, and he did notice that she seemed to have trouble keeping her powers stable and in check, explaining to her that the Young Titans was created to help the younger heroes learn about and master their abilities. She agrees and becomes a full-fledged member of that team, even being able to juggle that along with the Magic Masters too. But we'll get into them at another time. Right after she agrees, they get another alert. However, this time from the Montgomery County Police Force, with Fire Blast calling about assistance required in dealing with an unknown armored being and a supervillain. The team then forms back up and heads out to help. In his younger years, David had always been fascinated with space, and he always had dreams of learning about other worlds. He would even fantasize about being an astronaut and discovering a new species of aliens. However, he still had the mindset that there was no other life anywhere else in the universe, thanks to all of the talks from professional scientists. But he still had a gut feeling that this wasn't true, though he had no way of proving it. Then, During the DC Comics Enter Our World event, his entire worldview changed as he found a strange bug shaped item that latched itself onto him, creating a suit of armor. When he was found by Blue Beetle, the bug on David's back started to speak, telling the two of them that it was a Quanter, an ancient alien species that killed themselves in constant wars from another universe. And this seemed to be the last of the species. The two determined that the Enter Our World event caused other multiversal collisions, which brought the bug to our world as well. Blue Beetle then decided to train David into controlling his new abilities until he was ready to become the hero known as Blue Armor. One thing that he and his mentor could both do was use their bug armor to create weapons, utilizing a metal link with their bug pack, as David calls it in appearance, and have an impenetrable suit of armor. His particular bug is known as Kima John, who is very secretive about his armor's full power. And so, David did everything he could to not use Kima John and his blue armor form unless absolutely necessary. And he was able to do this during the entirety of the Enter Our World event, only using small portions of his power to give himself an edge against common bank robbers. However, he was still found by the new Justice League, and was given an invite to join them in defending the world. And while he accepted and would be glad to be part of their team, he acts more like a lone wolf, not wanting to harm anyone else, and he would rather spend more time learning about Kima John and their immense power together. Even several other members of the League see this, and many members were rather hesitant on joining him on missions. So, one of his close hero friends, the Warrior, gave him a chance to join his new team of younger heroes learning how to use their abilities, known as the Young Titans. This is where David finally felt at home, as many of his teammates had ways of protecting themselves and soothing Kima John if he ever got too out of control. Strangely enough, though, it was Darkwing, a being who is all about embracing dark magic and the things kids hide from, that Kima John felt the most comfortable being around, much to everyone's surprise, including David's. However, even still, he likes to stay on his own to learn more about how to control his power, trying to show his strength by doing this on his own. However, not many stories like this can end in such happiness, as years later, it would be revealed to all of Earth that Kima John had lied about something very big. But we'll get into that story at another time. Stargazing might not be everyone's thing, but it was the most exciting thing in the world for young Maya. She loved looking at the stars to see new star formations, and even staying up late just to see how many constellations she could identify within a set amount of time. At one point, she even managed to accurately name and map out on paper the nightly constellations. Then, during the DC Comics Enter Our World event, she found a strange silver staff which imbued her with intergalactic powers and a special suit. Later found and trained by Stargirl, Maya was able to use her newfound powers and become the Shooting Star, or Comet as some early reporters called her. But both names she found fitting, as when she flies, she will usually look like a comet or a shooting star to those on the ground, even during the day. With the strange staff, known as the Star Staff, she can fly along with using the staff to fire beams of pure light energy though these aren't as powerful as a lantern ring's constructs. She could even use these light beams to wrap around objects to lift them, thanks to enhanced strength and durability from the staff. Soon after, she was invited to join the new Justice League, and she was quite ecstatic to join, getting to work alongside the likes of Bat Knight and Supersmith, to whom she looked up to, even if for not too long in her life. However, as time went on, she began to get more and more powerful, and didn't know how to control these powers. So, the warrior gave her a place within the ranks of the Young Titans, where she could learn how to control her powers while still fighting supervillains. She also began a good relationship with fellow hero Iron Titan, who we'll get into in another video, and looked to him for guidance whenever she was unsure of anything. In a way, he became something of a big brother to her, as whenever she went out on a mission with the new Justice League members, Iron Titan was always fighting alongside her and looking out for her well-being. And when not fighting crime, she could be found hanging around the Justice Hall, usually trying to fend off Blue Bow's flirtatious personality. However, like the saying goes, even if you shoot blindly at a target, chances are you'll still manage to hit a bullseye at least once. When she was a kid, Mary Claire was quite fascinated with magic. Specifically, magic that could allow one to communicate with and even resurrect the dead. Her reasoning behind this was because her grandparents died when she was very young, and she wished to find a way to see them, even for one more moment. Yet, she kept this a secret from her family and even her best friends, and not heeding the warning, be careful what you wish for. For when the DC Comics Enter Our World event began, she was in the middle of yet another magical attempt, when it quite literally blew up in her face with a torrent of what she could only describe as hellfire. 3 weeks later, she awoke in the hospital with pale skin, her hair a darkened purple, and her eyes a flaming rose color. When she looked in the mirror, she became horrified at the sight of herself, and she was also visited by Devardon, one of the many agents to the Lords of Hell. Turns out, Devardon had been watching Mary Claire for a while, and was impressed by her magical obsession, deciding to make her the Agent of Hell, the one who could bring hell on Earth and start the apocalypse, promising in return to give her the reunion with her grandparents that she had always wanted. However, he underestimated her intellect, and she refused his offer, knowing that bargaining with a demon never turns out well. So, she began running, living on the streets and grabbing clothes and scraps to eat whenever she could. And she lived like this for over 2 weeks. It was then that she was found by the Master of Magical Mysteries, Sorcerer K, who brought her to his magical home, where she could be protected from Devardon and learn more about herself. He then brought her to his library and showed her written accords from the superhero Raven, telling of how she had sensed another power emerge in our world, but was too busy to investigate it, along with notes of what she herself had to do in order to be trained on using her powers. Through this, Mary Claire began to discover what her abilities entailed as the Agent of Hell. She can use dark magic to create blasts, bands, portals, and even a physical bird that can carry others, or just straight up ram into opponents. Her powers also stem from her emotions, as she's something akin to an empath, as she can sense the emotions of others, which can also influence her own emotions. However, the two quickly discovered that her powers are also tied to her emotions. And if her emotions become too out of control, she could unintentionally start the demon's plan to invade Earth and begin the apocalyptic takeover. So, they both agreed that there should be safeguards to protect herself and the world. So, they installed mental barriers to limit her powers and emotions. Now, these barriers can be broken by her if needed, and by doing so, strengthening her power. However, it can make her power become more difficult to control, and it gets harder every time they have to reset these barriers. So, about 6 months after she joined the new Justice League and the Magic Masters, she felt that she couldn't be trusted on many of the missions. So, the warrior extended a hand to her to join his new team of the Young Titans, where she'd be able to learn how to control herself and her powers during missions. Pretty interesting stories, huh? I do want to keep doing these kinds of videos, and I do want to know with what you guys think of these. And if there's any villains you guys want to see, please let me know about them, either by sending it to the email you see on screen right here, or just leaving a comment. Say what villains you want these characters to be fighting against, and what their powers would be, and if they're even based on anyone. Those kinds of comments do actually help me out quite a bit, I will admit. So anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Be sure to give this video a like if you want to see more videos like it. Submit a comment, let me know what you want me to make a video on next. Subscribe if you haven't, and ring that bell for notifications. Also, check out my Discord server. It's a great place to just talk with me and other people about the videos that I put out. And it's where I'll be putting up updates every once in a while, and even putting up some additional footage and questions and all that stuff. Also, follow me on Twitter as well at prnerd_official, and check out my TikTok as well. I don't post there too often, but I have been for certain items. Also, follow me on Instagram at PowerRangers_nerd. I put up the artworks for all of my Speedpaint videos on there for you guys to check out. Also, check out my Patreon as well. I'm still kind of in the process of making it, but it is a great way for you guys to support me and keep the lights on here. And also, by becoming a member on Patreon, you'll be able to get early access to my videos as well. And you could even get some shoutouts on my YouTube channel as well. So, I'd suggest giving that a look too. So, until we see each other again, take care, guys.